The road into Charleston County shimmered under the crushing heat of the 1844 summer, dust rising with every wagon that passed and settling slowly over the endless fields of rice and cotton. At the heart of this world of quiet wealth and hidden brutality stood the Hammond plantation, its white columns glowing beneath the relentless southern sun. The big house rose like a monument to profit and power, while behind it stretched the slave quarters, where the real weight of that prosperity was carried. Marcus Hammond ruled his land with a cold, clinical efficiency. He was a man who wrote down everything: the harvest yields, the punishments he ordered, even the names and ages of the children born in the quarters each year. Nothing escaped his notice, and nothing existed on the plantation outside his control. He had plans not only for his land, but for his only son, Thomas, a young man polished by education and wealth, and every bit as comfortable with the world his father had built. In July of that year, Marcus traveled to Savannah with a purpose he revealed to no one. At the slave auction, among the dozens of terrified faces, stood a girl of 16, light-skinned, quiet, and, according to the auctioneer, literate, an expensive, dangerous detail. Marcus watched her carefully, saw the fear she tried to hide, the intelligence she could not. He bought her for $900. Her name was Celia. She arrived at the Hammond estate in chains, the sun burning her shoulders, the iron around her wrists cutting into her skin as she was unloaded with 3 others. The head housekeeper, Ruth, an elderly woman whose eyes held decades of grief, took one look at Celia and felt something shift in her chest. The girl was too calm, Ruth wrote later, too observant. She walked through the halls, not like a servant learning her duties, but like someone studying a map. Celia learned quickly, so quickly that even Ruth grew uneasy. She noticed everything: what foods the family preferred, which rooms Marcus used, when shipments arrived from Charleston, how Dr. Thornton diagnosed illnesses, which children were sickly, and which servants oversaw the pantry. And all the while, she spoke little, asked carefully chosen questions, and hid her thoughts behind a blank, obedient mask. 3 months later, Marcus revealed to his son the true reason he had bought her. Thomas listened, first confused, then reluctant, then resigned. His father believed a planter's wife should be shaped from youth, docile, trained, unquestioning. Celia was to be that wife, but only in the twisted way this society understood the word. The ceremony happened in a small chapel on the plantation. No minister, no license, only Samuel, an enslaved preacher, forced to say the words Marcus demanded. Celia wore a white dress sewn for her. She stood silent as stone while Thomas Hammond took her hand. When Samuel looked into her eyes, he saw something that made his blood run cold, the look of a trapped creature already planning its escape. Her room was locked from the outside. She slept when Thomas allowed, ate when he decided, existed only as a piece of property in her own mock marriage. 2 pregnancies followed, one ending in a miscarriage, the other in a stillbirth. Celia changed after that, Ruth observed. She moved like a shadow, and she began asking about herbs: what cured pain, what caused purging, what plants were dangerous if brewed too strong. Old Josiah, the gardener, taught her without realizing it. Flora, the cook, showed her which spices masked bitterness. Celia learned which roots grew along the creek behind the quarters, which leaves could kill a calf in an hour, which seeds might take days to show their true power. By the autumn of 1846, the Hammond family was preparing for a grand Christmas gathering. Relatives from Georgia and South Carolina were coming: brothers, sisters, cousins, their children, 17 guests in all. For the first time, Celia was moved into a central role in the kitchen. She baked the sweet cakes for the children, stirred the preserves for breakfast, and refilled Marcus Hammond's cherished spiced wine. She was calm, focused, almost serene. The guests arrived laughing, embracing, filling the halls with music and warmth. On December 22nd, they dined for hours, praising the food, complimenting the plum preserves, the sauces, the wines. None noticed. Celia standing silently near the wall, her hands folded neatly, her eyes watching every bite they swallowed. Late that night, Marcus Hammond awoke with violent retching. Within hours, his wife collapsed with the same agony. Before dawn, all 17 family members lay in their rooms, clutching their stomachs as waves of pain tore through them. Blood appeared in what they vomited. Children screamed in terror. Dr. Thornton, summoned in panic, searched for explanations: food poisoning, cholera, tainted oysters, but nothing matched the strange progression of symptoms. In the midst of the chaos, the overseer went to check on Celia. Her bed was made, her belongings untouched. Only her white wedding dress lay folded on the blanket, and on top of it, a single note written in elegant, forbidden handwriting. "I pray that God grants them the mercy they denied me." Celia had vanished into the night. By the time the magistrate arrived, the Hammond house was a place of sickness and death. 5 people died in the next days. 4 more followed. Investigators pulled apart the kitchen and discovered, behind a loose board, a small cloth bag filled with dried leaves and seeds, oleander, water hemlock, white. They found traces in the preserves, in the wine, in the children's cakes. Celia had not poisoned them once. She had poisoned them slowly, quietly, with doses too small to detect. Doses that built inside the body until, by December 23rd, the toxins finally took hold. She had been preparing for months. Slave catchers scoured the county. Dogs searched the swamps. Rewards increased to impossible sums. Celia was never found, and fear spread like wildfire through the low country, a fear that no amount of power or cruelty could soothe. Some said Celia drowned in the marshes. Others whispered she was killed in secret. But abolitionist letters found decades later tell another story of a young woman, mixed race and literate, who fled South Carolina and reached Philadelphia before vanishing again into the safety of Canada. A woman called Cecilia Harris appeared in Canadian records soon after, an herbalist, a midwife, a quiet figure who healed others until her death in 1889. Perhaps she lived, perhaps she found peace in a land where no one owned her name. No one locked her door. No one controlled the air she breathed. The Hammond plantation never recovered. Thomas lived out the rest of his short life in fear, his health shattered, his nights haunted by the memory of Celia's final steps through that darkened hall. The estate was sold, the enslaved community scattered, the big house burned and crumbled into dust. Yet the story did not disappear. It traveled with those who survived, whispered from plantation to plantation, passed from mother to daughter in the slave quarters. A tale of a girl who refused to break, a girl who studied her captors, waited, planned, and struck back with the only weapons she had. Not a monster, not a hero, but a person driven to an impossible choice by an inhuman world. Even now, the ruins of the Hammond estate lie hidden beneath vines and soil. No marker stands there, no plaque, only silence, and somewhere in that silence, if you listen closely, you can almost imagine the soft rustle of a young woman slipping into the night, stepping beyond the reach of those who believed they owned her, leaving behind a story that history tried to bury, and a question we still struggle to answer. What does justice mean in a world built on cruelty?